What's going on, everybody? Tyler Redmond, host of Hunter Ridge Outdoors. This is episode 8 of the Hunter Ridge podcast. It is a pleasure to be able to talk to Mr. Chris Hall, who actually got to hunt with Travis T-Bone Turner. And actually, Chris, you're the reason I'm on here, or actually, the reason you're on here is because T-Bone recommended you to talk with me.
Really?
And he's been trying to get people on the podcast like Michael and Nick, and he got me into with Anthony Cineground, and he said, "Man, you ought to interview Chris Hall." And buddy, I've been excited about this one.
Oh man, I'm excited too. I'm actually wearing Anthony's hoodie today.
Love
This
it.
Spinner Grand Outdoors. I just picked this one up. Um, yeah, no, that whole trip was a dream come true, especially for somebody like me growing up in that time period when even before Bone Collector started, I was watching Waddell when he was with the Realty excuse me, Realtree Road Trips, and he was sponsored by Muzzy, Dinty Moore, those shows on the Outdoor Channel. And then in my teen years, Bone Collector came out, and I just fell in love with the show because it was something different. You know, it wasn't the old style of, oh, we got a buck coming in 20 yards. Just buck comes in, it gets shot, it's over. It's still entertaining, but it didn't have that level of comedy. It didn't have like the camaraderie that show had. So when I was growing up, those were the guys that I looked up to. They were, Michael Waddell talks about how Chuck Adams is his guy. Um, that Travis and Michael, they were the guys that I emulated when I wanted to go out hunting.
Absolutely, yeah. I right back at you. They're the same for me, and um, I talk with T-Bone a lot now, and blessed to be able to do that. And I'm sure you do too. And with
That's
Anthony and all those guys. But yeah, and I ask everybody this. We love to hear how you got started in hunting. I know for some people I don't know if it's like with you, or I don't know if you're like this, but some people just end up learning hunting it yourself, and then of course if you're fortunate enough, you got maybe parents, grandparents, uncles, or whoever, cousins, friends may get you in the outdoor. So, what's your background like?
so I did not come from my immediate family were not hunters. But my cousin Joe Blosser was he's well regarded as probably one of the best trappers in our area. Like he actually goes to schools and different fall festivals, if you will, and gives out information about trapping, wildlife in general. Um, when I was about 12, I had started getting interest in. Always idolized Joe, so I was like, you know what, take me trapping. So I went out trapping with him, and the first day I got a fox and a mink and a muskrat and a coon. And I thought it was like that every day when you go trapping, but I did found out after I was 25 that those were plants. He went in before and put them in the trap, so I had something to find to hook me into
Oh my
being
God.
a hook me into being a outdoorsman, and it sure worked. Um, my first deer was taken on his property when I was about 16 years old with a 20 gauge Mossberg 500. It was an old slick head, as T-Bone wants to say, but I'll never forget that night. Um, I got pretty much all of my hunting stories up till I was an adult involved him because he just wanted to sit by me, and I was just so eager to learn and learn a little bit more about my mom's side of the family, hearing old stories like that. We would just cut up in the blind, and it became the biggest addiction slash best thing that ever happened in my life was start hunting. Um, of course, you do it for everybody does it for different reasons. If it mount on the wall or me, for me, it's all of the above. Um, the memories that are made in it. So that's how I got my start. Is we didn't even have blinds, like an actual pop-up blind. When I first started hunting, we had straw bales. We would put straw bales out and kind of put them around in the like a square.
Yeah.
So here in Ohio, it gets extremely cold during deer season, which is always the Monday after Thanksgiving. So the idea is that the straw bale so that it would block the wind a little bit instead of cutting into you. A little bit more of that background story. Um, my mom was kind of hesitant about me going out because it mentioned in the episode that I had a little bit of challenges when I was younger. I have a condition called arthrogryposis multiplex congenita, which is a long, long word that just means a few simple things that my joints are fixed in a very specific way. I've had numerous surgeries to try to fix it. Like before I started hunting, like from the age 4 to 12, I had 22 surgeries. So like just trying to fix that condition. With Joe, his son actually has Down syndrome,
Mm.
and Jared is probably my favorite person in the world. He has the biggest heart of anybody else, but because my mom trusted Joe because his son had some sort of challenges, it was a very easy, like I didn't have to worry about me walking if I was walking too slow. He was very understanding, and
Mm.
he made going out easy. It wasn't like when I always say if it wasn't for Joe taking the time to help me, I wouldn't have become a hunter because there was no way. And even today, I have one of my bestest friends, John Ankney, who he has a horse farm. He lives about a quarter of a mile from me. Every deer season, even before we shoot bows together, we I help feed his horses at times, but I he lets me hunt his property. He's always there to help me set up my blinds, and when I get one, it's always the celebratory call, like, "Hey, John, you better get your tractor because I ain't pulling this thing out by myself." Like, I'm using the handicap card on this one. Even even if it's a little doe, I don't care. I'm like, "Bring the four-wheelers." Um, but that goes to them being able to be understanding with my condition.
Right. Yeah, man, you have an incredible story. And like we ain't really ain't gotten we're just at the beginning of our podcast, and I knew that you were gonna have a great story to tell. And I know with um your muscle disease and everything that's going on through your life, I know that has got to be a challenge. And but when you go through something like that or you stub your toe, as T-Bone would say when he had cancer, you just have to lean
Mhm,
on God and trust on him, and he'll guide you
mhm.
through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was raised very religious myself. That's a that's a big part of, I think, why I was able to do so well comparatively. I mean, I think, and Travis will tell you this too, because I've had talks with him about it. Like, it's easy to fall into this woe is me kind of pity party kind of thought if you
Oh
do
yeah.
have a condition. The best way I get myself out of that quickly is look around at what I have, look around at what I'm able to do, and look around at those that have worse conditions than I do. Um, that's not to say I don't have those moments because I do, but it's even it's a good way to think that just be grateful for what you have because it could be so much worse. That's what I always
Oh,
remind myself
absolutely. And
too.
yeah, T-Bone, and he and you are exactly right. I mean, and I tell people this too, and a lot of people look at me and wouldn't tell that there was something wrong with me. I'm actually autistic. I don't know, you probably didn't know that or not, but
No, I couldn't tell him.
very high functioning though. But yeah, it's been a long journey for that. But like I said, there have been times where I myself are like, "Woe is me," have a pity party. I
Hmm.
don't have this, I don't have that. But you know what? When we get to looking around and we realize, hey, we are blessed, and
Hmm.
we're very lucky and blessed to have what we have. Be like I said, be able to go out in the woods, enjoy it, and like I said, have jobs. You work at an archery shop, I work at a feed store,
Hmm.
and we're all just blessed to, no matter
Yeah.
what condition, no matter what we're going through, we're blessed to be talking right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. and it's not just the hunting in general, like, there's things in my life that I'm constantly thankful for. I have 2 beautiful nieces and a pretty awesome nephew, and every day they give me the reason to keep going because 'cause they're pretty dang awesome, and just little stuff like that. Not that it's a little thing, but non-hunting related, just stuff every day will if you look for it, it's there.
Absolutely, absolutely, Chris. You nailed it on the head, buddy. Well, hey, we're on here. Yeah, of course. My motto of my channel is I don't know if you get a chance, check it out, man. We got some good videos and stuff. I think you'll enjoy. And
Absolutely.
but my motto of the channel is more than just the outdoors. It's way more. You know what
Mhm.
I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
It's
but
it's all encompassing, I think.
oh yeah, oh yeah. But yeah, like I said, of course, this is an outdoor channel, and what better way to talk about hunting? You got any uh funny moments or any favorite moments from the tree stand or anything like that?
Oh, man, I got so many. A lot happened when I was turkey hunting. Um, I got the moniker Turkey Foot from my cousins for a long time. It was my first turkey ever. They come in. It was a group of 2 came into the calls, and I was about 16, and I had never shot. I shot a 12 gauge, but it was just like bird shot. I was mostly using 20 gauges at that time, and my cousin's like, "Well, you should use this gun," and it was a 3-inch Magnum turkey load out of a Mossberg 500, and man, I was sitting up on a tree stump and over a blind, like I said, we used, straw bales a lot.
Yeah.
So I was sitting in the middle of the field of straw bales trying to keep real low. What I didn't know was as I was trying to keep real low, I tilted the stump a little bit, and I squeezed off the round, and when I did, it blew the turkey's foot off, and I fell back. And next thing I know, I'm laying looking up at the sky. My cousin's grabbing, he's like, you got it. And I was like, I did. And he's like, wait, it's running. And it was running with one leg. And my cousin and me were, well, I can't run, but he can. And he was loading the gun up and I shot it again. And that was crazy. And a couple years after that, we had this old kind of spot at the corner of the property that he had nailed these planks to make seats to kind of like a old style tree stand type of thing, but they were only like high enough to set on off the ground like a chair. We were calling in and it was early morning and giving a couple yelps, getting them. Man, I was getting excited. They were thundering back real hard and I must have shifted in my seat the right way to, get myself ready. And I started hearing popping and crackling and I was like, "What is that?" Next thing I know, that chair gave out off the side of the tree, and I fell down onto my butt.
Oh no.
And and, um, same cousin, same story about I got this bird here that I have on my wall. Is my biggest turkey ever, and we actually doubled that day, well, tripled because his twin brother got one pretty much at the same time. But me and him were sitting together and 2 big toms come in. Mine was 23 pounds or something. It's a pretty decent bird.
Wow.
And we shot it at the same time, and I used a 20 gauge because I learned my lesson about that. And he was using a 3.5 inch 12. And he I shot mine at 45 yards. He shot his at 47. Mine dropped dead, did the death flop and everything like that. I'm looking at the bird and I'm like, Joe, I think your bird's trying to stand up. And he goes, there ain't no way. There ain't no way that bird's going to stand up. There ain't no way. I get halfway out the blind. That bird stands up and its neck is like this. Like if his body is right here, his neck was on sideways. He took off running with a sideways neck for about 40 yards. And my cousin was loading up his shotgun and he missed 3 sweet times and he finally hit it again. But yeah, those are probably the funniest stories I've ever like
Oh my
the
gosh.
mishaps, misadventures, if you will, but it's it's funny. I mean, you can't make that stuff up.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Just and you know what's best about that? Y'all was able to finish both those birds off.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's kind of like mounts on the wall are one thing. That's cool, but what I cherish the most are the memories of who I'm going with, even if it's just a fishing trip with my best buddies, because some of those I can't even repeat. But but it just the quality time together and getting something is just a plus.
Absolutely, buddy, and you nailed it. I there's a lot of funny moments I had as well, and of course, and you mentioned about the people you cherish them with. I have a dear friend that's gone on to be with Jesus. His name was Greg, and he passed away at 55 years old. Had a lot of health issues. He was really diabetic, but really cherish go. In fact, my first bow kill on a deer. My first deer with a bow was with him in the stand, and I cherished that more than anything. That was one of the most special moments, and especially in the woods, But he's passed on now, but you like you said, just things like that mean a lot of who you cherish them with, because at some point, we're all going to be like, you don't want to regret those times.
No, and you don't want to miss out on them either.
Oh,
It's
absolutely. And because when we're hunting stuff, we tend to get fixated on little things like, oh man, I wish that other bigger buck would have come in, or I wish this, that, you know what I mean? But
I I find myself like getting too deep into the minutia of it, if you will. Like, man, I don't know if I should even hunt today because the wind's wrong, or I'm not sure if I done my scent right or something. But at the end of the day, the days that you like, well, I should probably go anyway. It's usually the days where something pretty amazing happens, and you're like, why was I even second guessing this?
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, some of those moments you're like, I don't want to go, and all of a sudden you're like, a few minutes later, yeah, I'm glad I went.
Hmm.
But yeah, man. So actually, I see a nice buck behind you. Which one's that? Did you kill that deer?
Yes, sir, I did. That was one from the episode that I was on
Oh,
with
that was
Travis.
that was a deer with T-bone.
Yep, yep.
Oh wow, man, that's a good buck, dude.
Yeah.
Now I watched that, and I'm gonna tell you something. That was awesome, man. My, I enjoyed watching every bit of that, buddy. And I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Tell us everything about it, like how this hunt came about and the
Okay.
hunt itself and everything.
Okay, so I had in 2018, I had a pretty serious kind of a backstory. I had a pretty serious medical issue happen. It's kind of down in the dumps a little bit, and my buddy, I mentioned him earlier, John Ankney, texted me that um, Travis was going to be at Cleveland's Outdoor World in Toledo on Airport Highway, which is about an hour from me. And he did it for a reason. He was like, he wants me to get out, be happy for a little bit. And he knew how much I love the Bone Collector show. So I had met a TV personality in the past. It was Eva Shockey, and it was at Cabela's in Dundee, Michigan. And there was a line out the door just to even shake her hand or say hello. And I kind of thought that's what it would be when I walked in initially. And I walked in, and how the store's laid out. You walk in, there's an archery range just to your right. Seen him sitting there, and I don't know why I did it, but I knocked on the thing because I thought he was at lunch, maybe because there wasn't a long line. And I was like, Mr. T-Bone? And I was like, can I say hi to you? And I ended up giving him a big hug. You know how Travis is. He'd give you a big old hug, and he's like, what's up, man? And like it was like we were friends instantly. And like I was starstruck, and he can tell you that I was freaking out. I'm like, I can't believe I'm meeting you and stuff like that. Well, in the middle of that conversation, he sat down and talked to me for 2 hours in between other customers coming in and wanting autographs and stuff. And him and Brian Schmeck, who is his best friend and cameraman, having conversations with both of them. And they're both, you know, the most down to earth people that I'm like, this is crazy because you wouldn't think that they would be that kind, but they are and more. And not to say that they seem that way on TV, but any kind of TV celebrity type, you kind of think maybe that they'd be kind of not that way in real life, but he is 100% the same person he is on TV. And so during that conversation, I asked for his I said, could you follow my Instagram? I post hunting stuff. And he said, absolutely. And it was funny because not 2 hours later, he sent me a message. Hey, Chris, you make it home okay? And I was like, yeah, I sure did. And we just got talking on Instagram a lot. And he ended up, I was saying, man, I hunt with a crossbow, but my muscles are what they are. I could really use some advice, some pointers. Ended up sending me a device called an AccuBow, which is a resistance training device that is in the shape of a bow, and it comes with like even a D loop that you can put your release on and work your back muscles and this muscle right here to have a stronger draw weight in time, or heavier draw weight, be stronger. Ended up being able to get my first compound bow, which was a bear. I had shot some compound bows, but it was right-handed, and I realized through hunting that I'm very left eye dominant because my
Yeah.
right eye is terrible. So I switched to a left-handed bow. My first bow was a Bear Cruiser G2, which was kind of a grow with you bow. So I was able to bring my poundage up from 30 to now I'm shooting around 55 pounds, and which is I feel is pretty ethical. I don't need to go any further than that. If I do, that's great. But right now, that's what I'm comfortable with. In between that year and the year that I went hunting, I had met him several times at Whitetails Unlimited banquets. He would do appearances in Bellefontaine or Bellefountain, Ohio. They'll correct you down there if you say it wrong. Um, it's about an hour away from me to the south. Um, but I brought my brother-in-law with him, and I said, "Hey, Travis, he's pretty famous in the hunting stuff. He doesn't hunt." And he's like, "Okay." I think he was thinking like, "Oh, he'll come and say hi." Travis stopped what he was doing, shut off his mic because he was announcing like ticket winners for raffles. And he's like, "Chris, come here." And we hung out that whole time. The next time I went up, I brought my mom and I was telling her how nice he is. And we brought him gifts and stuff. We found actually a Coke that was, it had Georgia peach on it and it was a peach flavored Coke. We found it at the Walmart here in Defiance and we bought him Cheetos and that Georgia peach Coke and
Yes.
made a big old gift basket for him. And he ended up giving me a set of, back then they were dead meats, and a Havalon bone collector knife that I've used the snot out of dressing deer or doing European mounts and stuff because it's got the replaceable razor blades.
Yeah.
Um, and then he had posted during COVID that the Thursday night knockbuster thing that he's having a group of friends over and stuff like that. And I sent him a message, and this was middle summer. I said, "Hey, man, I don't I don't want to ever seem entitled or ever ask for anything, but if there's ever a chance that I could come and shoot with you at the Thursday night knockbusters, just to come and shoot my bow with you, would be awesome." He replied back with, "Well, if you come in August, you can come and hunt with me." It took me 3 times to reread that before I realized it was reality. And, and I was absolutely, yeah. And I told my mom and dad, I was like, "We're going to Georgia October 22nd, and I hope to get my biggest buck ever, but really just be learn and hang out with somebody that I've looked up to for a long time." And that that made the whole trip just to see him and Brian and meet Anthony and Memphis and all the other guys from the Knockbuster crew. I The level of hospitality they showed me, like It was something that I've never well, you experience it with family. That was the level of it. Of come
Mm,
in. This is you can hang out at my house and just it's kind of a rare thing, I guess, up here. Maybe that Southern hospitality thing is real,
yeah.
but it was definitely a eye-opening experience. Just how awesome he was, and the first night he's like, "Well, you ready to go?" We pull into his place, and he's like, "You ready to go?" I said, "Yeah." He grabbed the Remington 700 and 30-06. Here in Ohio, you can't hunt with high-powered rifles, only straight wall cartridges. So I
Huh.
had never shot a 30-06 before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so what we're allowed to use is like a 350 Legend, 400 Legend, 450 Bushmaster because it's so flat here.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, they don't want that bullet to keep going and hit somebody's house or something like that. Is from what I understand is the reasoning for it. And that buck, he had been sending me pictures of multiple bucks that could be in the area. And, I'm looking out and there's some does that were milling around and they came into the corn. And I'm like, "Man, this might happen. This might happen." And I'm like, "I don't wanna jinx it, though. I don't wanna." I'm like, "Just here to have a good time. Just here to have a good time." Sure enough, about not too close to last light, but getting there, he came out, and I don't remember the exact yardage, but it was not over 100 yards, and I squeezed off the round, and I think he took 2 steps to the left, like, spun his body, and then just rolled over, and then the reality hit me of I just killed my biggest buck ever. And not only did I kill my biggest buck ever, I killed my biggest buck ever on somebody I'm not gonna say idolized, but looked up to for a long time. And this like, it was just the reality set in, and I instantly called my mom. My second call was to Joe Blosser, who taught me how to hunt, and who would like, we would sit and watch Bone Collector together. And I was like, "Hey, buddy, I just got my biggest buck ever on Travis's property, and this is pretty awesome." And I hadn't ever gotten, I've crossbow hunted for a long time, but my goal was to get a bow kill, compound bow kill. And I saved up and I bought a Hoyt Torex, and I had them customize it with the Bone Collector logo,
Nice.
the Bone Collector setup. And that was even before I knew I was coming um, out there. I just wanted it. And I got my first doe that day too, but it wasn't pretty because I had never because of my condition, I I never shot from an angle, like high
Mm,
up in an angle.
yeah.
I always shoot ground blinds, flat on, and I'm pretty sure nerves had something to do with it because I was shaking like a leaf trying to pull that bow back.
Oh, I know it.
And like, it's the more of adrenaline rush than I've ever experienced at all with a compound bow. Um, just and I got my first doe, and then the night after those 2 hunts was the knockbusters. We just hung out, shot bows. Anthony, I he may have talked to you before, but he does a lot of hunting with the, Gamo air rifles.
Yep.
Um, he we had iguana from where he went down to Florida and hunted out of iguana, and I was like, "I've eaten some crazy things at Joe Blosser's house, but I've never eaten iguana." And I was like, "You know what? Give me a plate of that just to say that I had it," and it was really good. It was extremely good. Um, and that wasn't the only cool experiences. I think about the kindness too that the even the deer processor that we went up and met, the Snelsons gave me. I met that whole family, and it was kind of funny because Travis has known her forever, and she walks up and she gives him a hat, and I was like, "Oh, thank you," and a keychain, and I still have both of them. And Travis goes, "I've known you for 12 years and I ain't got a hat yet." And the last day, uh, we did some like the interview filmings, some interview filming, and they of me
Yeah,
fishing and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I met Ryan Wakeneck, the producer there, and he brought me a turkey tote that was the Bone Collector Leather Works, and then one of the new Bone Collector hats, and I was wearing it around, and that was when I was the part of the filming where I was shooting my bow in the track chair, and I was milling around with the hat on, and Travis went through the door, came back, looked at me, and he goes, "Where'd you get that hat?" I said, "Ryan." He goes, "I don't even have that hat." Um, that was pretty cool. And oh, about the Snelson thing, the first thing the woman says to me, and she is tiny. She's like this tall, full grown, and I'm only 5'7", so she's this tall on me. She come and pokes me in the back, and she goes, "Why are you Ohio people coming down and killing our small deer? You got bigger deer in Ohio." I'm like, "We do, but I haven't killed one yet."
Oh,
And her daughter, she came up to me, and she's like a country bumpkin. She goes, "Did you know you can pop deer knuckles?" And I was like, "What?" And she took so they had cut a deer leg off, and I still have the video of it. And she took the hoof and like pulled them apart, and they pop like you're cracking the knuckle.
oh my
And
gosh.
and I'm like, "That is crazy." And then she showed me videos of her killing armadillos with a hammer. Like she'd
What?
walk up to him, she in her pajama pants, and just she'd walk up and throw the hammer down, literally hammer down on them, and they were stone cold dead. And I'm like, "This is where I belong. These are my people killing armadillos with hammers." And
That's my girl.
she was cool. Like I was like, these are the type of people I belong around."
Dude, that is awesome. I even saw you did get to Fish's Pond some, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. It was kind of I outfished everybody by 2 fish because they weren't biting. I think because the temperature had dropped, and
Yeah.
I was able to um cap catch a couple. I love fishing. In the summer, I'm bass fishing. If I have a day off, I'm bass fishing as much as possible.
Oh, me too.
Um, I bank it when I'm alone. My best friend Kalen, he has a bass boat, and we go out in Indiana. I fish a lot in Indiana because I'm relatively close to Indiana. I am about an hour away from Angola, which is they have what they call a chain of lakes, which is a lot of lakes up there, and we go and fish those. They have everything from largemouth to muskie, northern pike up there. Um, my goal is to get a muskie one day. I would really like to, but that's just like hunting. When you say you want a big buck, you don't know when it's going to happen. You just hope it does. But yeah, I love bass fishing. I've been very fortunate enough to. We have fish up here, walleye.
Oh yeah.
So up here we have, because our main river, the Maumee run, is a tributary of the Lake Erie.
Yeah.
So
Oh wow.
every spring they go down the Maumee and they spawn. But in order to fish those, you have to wade out to about waist to chest deep of water and waders, and it's about 30 degrees on a good day when they start to spawn.
Wow.
So, and it's pretty hairy, and it's quite the experience to see because there's usually about 300 men standing shoulder to shoulder in the middle of the Maumee River trying to catch.
Oh my God.
Just as far as your eye can see is just fishermen in their lines going out trying to get the Maumee River Walleye Run is what it's called. Um, and so I actually posted on the Facebook group page. I'm like, I'm disabled. I cannot wade, but I would really like to catch some walleye. Do you guys know of an area where I can fish off the bank because I cannot wade? A really kind person. He's like, "Hey, I'm fortunate enough to have a boat. If you want to wait till after the walleye run, I'll take you out on Lake Erie free of charge." And it was a 3-man limit between all of us. 3 people on the boat. We caught to like 24 keepable walleye that
Wow.
day, one right after the other. It was pretty awesome.
Dude, that is awesome.
I
That-
I I know that you guys have pretty cool fishing probably in North Carolina with saltwater. But if you get a chance to come up north and do some walleye fishing, it's pretty fun.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. I it's hard for me to get out as far as in other states and stuff. I put it that
Yeah,
way,
me
but
too.
if an opportunity falls, I'll take it, especially if anybody wants to have me join or whatever. But yeah, man, yeah, thanks for letting me know. That's yeah, I love fishing myself too. I love going to the. I was able to go on the go in the intercoastal on a boat with a guy named Will, and if you haven't seen that yet, it's the video where I'm holding that big red drum. You been on the beach fishing?
No, but it's a dream of mine to do any
Hey,
kind of beach fishing. That's
dude, it is a treat. Nothing against freshwater largemouth, but when you hit that salt water and catch all many varieties, oh my gosh, you're like, this is heaven.
yeah, I love watching those videos. I think Black Tip H has a YouTube channel.
Yes.
I love watching his stuff. Like who's the Lake Fort guy? He sometimes does some saltwater stuff.
Uh-huh.
It's a dream of mine to do anything of that. I have a cousin that lives in Florida, and she's constantly going out for mahi and different stuff off a boat, and I'm like, man, that is the dream.
Hey, I believe it'll happen to you, buddy. If there's anybody it'll happen to, it's you, buddy.
Ah,
And but yeah, dude, yeah, when you get a chance, man, that video of me on that boat, it's quite funny and it's quite interesting. I
I can imagine.
the bit so well, it's funny. What so none of this it was planned when we got to the beach. It was like a last minute thing, and I was able to get in contact with the guy because my dad knows how much I wanted to catch some big fish because the trip before, the year before, I come home with nothing, no fish to eat. So, so I ended up getting up with Will, and he told me the price and everything. And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I'll come on as long as there's somebody on there with you so we can split pay. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, yeah, it was a little expensive, but it was all worth it. So I went out. Um, I'm right hand dominant and right eye dominant, but if I was gonna do anything to try to bring in left handed to fish, I was gonna do it. Dude, I brought in the biggest bluefish I'd ever caught in my life left handed.
That's awesome.
Dude. And then I ended up catching a my favorite fish because my grandpa we used to be able to go fishing a whole lot, but he can't no more because of his health issues. But he would catch red drum, and I ended up catching a 22-inch red drum, and um, that was freaking awesome. When I brought him in, my reaction, dude, I was about to go crazy.
Yeah, that's one of my dream fishing experiences with red drum stuff, like just anything saltwater. Because living in the middle or the northwestern part of Ohio, we don't have salt water.
Mm.
So, getting to do something like that would be pretty amazing. I know in the future it will happen, but right now I like my fresh water because I can get to it. Um, we have something kind of like that. What you were talking about, splitting the payments of here in Lake Erie, they have walleye charters that they're about $600, but if you get six guys, everybody pay 100. Split it that way. Everybody can get a man limit with a couple with within a couple of hours. We also
Perfect.
have if you want to travel a little bit to Lake Michigan or Lake Superior, they have amazing lake trout, and those things are massive. And that's another goal of mine to get uh, go up lake trout fishing, but that's a bit of a drive for me up
Mm.
to Lake Michigan or Lake Superior. Um, I was recently asked to go for steelhead salmon fishing, which it was in the middle of Michigan. I'm hoping to that season's starting to kick off, so I'm hoping to get to go to do that soon.
There you go. Yeah, that'll happen for you, man. I know for sure it will. But yeah, fish and all is awesome, and but if you're like me, when it gets hot, it's hard to get out there, and especially with work
Yeah.
and stuff. But I'm determined. I'm gonna go out there and try to catch some big bass and stuff, and hopefully we can catch some good ones. I know there's a place I'm really hoping I get to go to again. Um, the man that lets me fish there has cancer. He's able to do stuff, but I think just the way the pond is, the condition of it, he's not sure. But I think I think he'd be all right with me coming down there. So I have to check with him. But he's got big fish, like big bass. He's got a few catfish, crappie, brim. That's where I've caught the most freshwater fish in my life, was at his pond. And then I recently got permission to a couple other different ponds. One of my dad delivers firewood when people want to burn wood, and
Hmm.
that's his side job. Um, and him and I went one day to a guy, and he had a big old fishing pond out there, about as big as that lake the secret pond, I guess you say, that I go to. And um, he just looked at me and just said, "You can come here fishing when all you want to." And I'm like, "What? Like, seriously?" So, and dude, it's been the only time so far, but the first time I went, dude, Brims galore. They were biting everywhere.
So you're gonna have to educate me a little bit. What's the difference between a brim and a bluegill? Because I heard
So,
in the South they call them brims, but I'm like, here we have crappies and bluegill.
right. So, you know, I think Brim, here's my belief. I'll have to look it up. I may be wrong, but like I said, it might be just a southern name everybody calls Brim, but there's own typical breeds of them. You got like shell cracker. You do
Hmm.
have the bluegill. Um, but really, no, I'm sorry. I don't think it's brim. They're all called sunfish.
Yeah,
Um,
so it's a different type of sunfish. Okay.
right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Now I have to look that up about the brim part, but the sunfish or brim, basically, they do have their own types, like shell cracker. There's the pumpkin seed sunfish. You probably seen where they
Mhm.
got different shades of color
Yes.
spots
Yeah.
on it. Those are some of my favorites. And then you got, your bluegill and stuff. Yeah, there's many different types of sunfish, but for the question of the brim part, yeah, that might be it might be it could be a nickname for the sunfish.
Like
That
a
just might
southern
be.
terminology.
Yeah, I'll have to see. That's a good question myself. I wish I could tell you, but I mean, it's like I guess it's a shorter way of saying sunfish, but we just say brim. But then
Hmm.
if it's a big one, it's a low down bluegill. So
Man, I tell you. Yeah, we get like red ear, red ear sunfish, a lot of rock bass, a lot of, and then a lot of black crappie here.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I catch those too. They're good.
yeah, I love catching crappie, man. They fight hard. Sometimes they'll hit my bass line, and I'll think once they hit, because I'm a bass fisherman, I set the hook hard,
Yeah,
and he'll like I'm about to throw them out of the water when I set the hook, and I'm like, oh, it's a crappie.
dude. And it's funny. Brim or bluegill are the same exact way, dude. When I catch some, especially the big ones, oh my gosh, dude, they feel just like bass.
Hmm.
They are, especially how big they are. And then from my experience, catfish are the most aggressive freshwater fish ever. Like when you pull them in, when they get to that top, they'll just
Hmm.
start wiggling and splashing. Oh my gosh, it is nuts.
So I got a question for you.
All right.
Have you ever thought you were catching a catfish, but really hooked into a snapping turtle?
Um, I don't know. No, probably not a catfish in particular, but of course fish in particular, because I would be able to tell by the way the cork is going if it,
Hmm.
goes straight down, of course, a fish, but when it was slowly moving, I'm like, "That's probably a low down turtle."
Yes.
sure, sure enough, and plus they don't jerk, but very
No.
little, and you'll just see that big old shell. And I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me!"
Yeah, yeah. We had just last year, me and my best buddies, we were all fishing in Indiana, and I saw my line because we were catfishing, and I saw it kind of start to take off a little bit. And I'm like, I'm gonna let it set for a second and then just rip into it. Man, when I set that hook, it didn't move. And I was like,
Oh.
what is this? And it was a good sized snapper, and it didn't happen once that day in the lake that we were fishing. It happened to every person that was in that boat at least twice. That place was loaded with snappers, and it was that was pretty amazing. Like just to, oh man, you think you're getting
Yeah.
something big, and then nope, just a snapping turtle. Got the line
Oh
before
my,
it bites your finger.
oh my gosh. I don't know if y'all could do this in Ohio, and I think you do here in North Carolina, but I'll tell you one way to take care of that turtle problem. That's how you.
Yeah, yeah, we can't.
Uh,
We can't shoot them in Ohio. What I've actually gone turtle hunting, and
oh,
the way that we did it was we had like big old catfish hooks, if you will, like big thick catfish hooks.
yeah,
We
yeah.
It's almost like that show, the alligator hunting show on the Discovery Channel. Uh, the name of the show escapes me, but it has the Cajun people and they hunt alligators.
Yeah.
And so you take a the line and a big hook, and we bought beef neck meat because it's so not tender. It's the stiffest meat you can get, and usually butcher shops don't even sell it, but you can get it kind of like chicken livers for hunt or for fishermen. So we take the
Yeah.
hook and you set it in the water, and you come back within a couple of hours, and they'll swallow the hook, but their gut biome will actually, hey, it's so acidic it will break down the metal within a couple of days of the fish hook.
Wow.
And so we'll just pull them up out of that, and it's almost like checking the alligator lines on that show. Swamp people.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
me.
yeah, 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 swamp people. Yep. Yep.
And the Kudum Chore.
So now you're saying it caught me off guard for a little bit. Was this alligators y'all were catching?
No, no, no. I was
That,
saying the way we hunt them, the way we hunt turtles a lot,
oh, turtles, turtles.
is
Yeah.
it is kind of the same as the swamp people, is where you take the line off the tree, hang it down with the neck meat into a hook, and the turtles will actually come up and start eating that. And that's how I've done it a couple of times, but not much.
Oh wow, man. Yeah. Phew. Yeah, dude. Have you Do you watch? You're probably like me. Do you watch Seek One?
I have not. I have not. I the one Is it pretty good?
Uh, Hands down, probably one of the best hunting channels ever. Other than Bone Collector and Real Tree, Seek One, and I'm gonna tell you, Lee. I don't know if you've heard his name, but Lee Ellis. They're on Facebook and Instagram and stuff called Seek One Productions on Facebook.
Okay.
They're more like suburban hunters. And they just partnered with Real Tree a couple years ago, and they hunt in Georgia, but this is in the suburban areas, dude. I, you want to talk about giants? They know how to find them. I'm talking deer bigger than 180 inches every freaking time. And I'm gonna tell you, if you go on there, you will see the one that he killed in Ohio. And yeah, he's been going to different states doing the same thing in neighborhoods, small properties, knocking on doors, getting yeses. Not every time, but it'll be like here in our areas. If we tried that, you're probably gonna get mostly no's, but then you're gonna get your yeses occasionally.
Mhm.
But thank the Lord, he was able to get a yes. And dude, he killed a 212-inch legendary monster.
That's that I've seen. I used to work at a convenience store, and one of my jobs of that was checking in deer
Uh huh.
for the wildlife for deer season. I have seen just in my area probably 180s, one like just ungodly massive bucks, and it's just so cool to see. My favorite is the kids. Like a little kid gets something, man. they act the way I feel when I get a deer. Man, they are
Yeah.
jumping up and down. They're just hooting and hollering, and man, that's what it's all about. I have not watched Seek One. I like sometimes the hunting public. I watch like elk shape stuff like that, kind of like bow tuning. But
Yeah.
the amount of scouting those guys do is insane too. The way they set up their cameras, they go off deep into these public lands, 2-3 miles to find these deer, and it's pretty incredible. And it's like, man, anybody can do it, and you don't need a lot to be able to do it, but they're out there. Those monsters are out there.
Oh yeah. And hey, here in North Carolina, they're out here too. And recently, this past year, dude, one of the biggest bucks I ever seen come through on camera. I don't know if he's still living, or at least I hope an offspring of his is. If he's gonna be big, but dude, this deer was all over 160s easily. And
Man, I hope you get them.
I hope so too. But dude, he disappeared in the summer, and I was like, of course. But you know what? I do have a strategy to hopefully get on those bucks. And the year before, there were some really big bucks too. They were probably close to like 140, and for me, that's a giant. Like the biggest deer I got is this one right here. He's probably around 120. Um,
Hmm.
but just to see a deer like that, man, you know they're in there. You just got to find them and hope they come to you, or you got to go to them. But um, and one reason I asked you about Seek One, yeah, of course. No, yeah, I do highly recommend you watching it. Monster bucks, a lot of turkey hunting, a big bass fisherman, and not only that, he hunt. They have videos of them fishing for monster sharks and for alligators. Like they'll catch them with
Oh
a
man,
dude. They'll catch an alligator with a rod and reel, bring it in, shoot it in the head with a pistol, and kill it. It is unbelievable.
I think you just turned me on to my newest addiction. Is what that
Dude,
what
you
you did.
you will be texting me shortly later. And you'll be gonna be saying, Tyler, you got me hooked on Seek One, dude. It is awesome. And
um, Man, it's cool they came to Ohio. I really geeked out when, with the TV hunting days is anytime they're like, we're going to Ohio, it's nowhere anywhere near me, but they're coming to Ohio. I'm like, that's so cool.
yeah,
I think it's when people think of like Midwest hunting states, they think Kansas, Missouri, stuff like maybe Illinois back in the day, but Ohio, they're like, it don't get talked about as much, but we have pretty big deer here. And man, it's kind of a good thing that it's a sleeper state because we don't have a lot of people coming in to try to hunt from out of state. But I
yeah.
can't say nothing because my biggest buck ever, I drove 10 hours from Ohio to Georgia. So, um, but yeah, I like it. I like those kind of, especially when they're traveling around.
Oh, absolutely, buddy. Yeah, but dude, yeah, that Seek One is unreal. And you know how there are bucks we tend to go after, or we may start a journey on trying our best to get that one particular deer. That's about like almost every deer that Lee is his name on Seek One hunts. And it's just Seek One, like SEEK 1. Like the motto of their channel is basically like going after a verse from the Bible, like seek and ye shall find. That
Hmm.
and it's a Christian based channel, but they
Okay.
are that's where they go after, and that's what their channel is. And you talk about monsters and get you fired up. Oh my gosh.
Man, the one thing that I think is really neat and the outdoor channel puts on is like right before turkey season starts off, they they put all the turkey hunting videos out on, and I that's when I start about a month before turkey season. I start busting out my calls and start to practice trying to use a mouth call without choking to death. And um man, it really does. It gets you fired up to get to go. And this past season was a really cool turkey hunting experience for me because I was able to. There's the store I work at, Knocking Point Outfitters in Bryan, Ohio. They partnered up with this family, and their son is extremely disabled, And so the mission for the family is to get those that are disabled to have really cool outdoor experiences. So for the first time, I was able to hunt with the track chair, and it was so amazing to be able to just walk over certain terrain without the feeling of falling or worry. And man, I was keeping up with the guys that I was hunting with, and that's not usually something that I do. But I was ahead of them, and a couple times I'm like, should I slow down? Are you guys good? So yeah, I had a big Tom come in to about 60 yards, and he got hung up, and man, man, he was responding to calls, and he was coming in hot and heavy, and that feeling of, oh, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Heart was in my throat. I don't know what happened. He did a 180 and went the other way, and that was my turkey season. But like I said before, the experience of it, it's not about the turkey for me. I got to do something really cool, and it was the experience of using a track chair and being with my buddy Ryan Cheney and his friend Chad. Well, he's really my friend too. Ryan used to work for Knocking Point, and he's just a really good guy. His wife works for Knocking Point. She's the manager, and just to enjoy time off of work with them, kind of cut up in the turkey blind, but also get to hunt at the same time.
That's pretty cool, man. That is awesome. This right here, let me show you. This is my might see him right there. That's my only turkey I've killed so far. Yeah, it's a Jake, but dude,
Hey, there's
like I
nothing
said,
wrong with it.
hey, nothing wrong with it. But you know what?
There ain't nothing wrong with the Jake. I was fortunate enough to I've been able to kill a Tom a couple times, a Jake, a bearded hen, and yeah, and then I went like 5 years without killing nothing. So right now a Jake sounds pretty good for me.
Hey, that's awesome. But and you know what? But the hunt itself was just yeah. My goal now this year is to hopefully kill a long beard, and it's almost like deer hunting. You have killed the king. You have killed the hoss. You know, you've killed that mature bird or that mature deer. But the Jake itself, dude, his goblin just got me fired up as much as a real Tom would have. Because I hunt that hunt was with my one of my best friends, Jonathan Brown, and I don't know if you've I know you're in Ohio, man. I'm in North Carolina, but I don't know if you've heard of have you ever heard of Bowman Gray Stadium? It's a quarter-mile racetrack in Winston-Salem, close to where we're at.
No.
Dude,
Is it
it's
like a dirt track?
it's actually just a quarter-mile pavement, dude.
Okay.
I think every way out of any so Bowman Gray is like, and I know we're kind of getting out of subject, but this is to basically my friend Jonathan is a like a local, almost like a local legend at that racetrack. When you hear his name in this area, pretty much everybody knows who he is. He's won almost 30 races at Bowman Gray, and but it's a quarter-mile racetrack, and they do weekly series, and they have their own schedule and stuff. Like every week for a certain part of the year, they'll race. They'll do the modified race cars, like sportsman late models, all those different types. They even have a monster truck show up there and demo derbies. And but I'm gonna tell you something. NASCAR brought their first race back. You've probably heard of NASCAR, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I'm a huge NASCAR fan. Well, they raced there for their Clash this year, and it was a huge success. What we expected spins, crashes, tempers, and that's what Bowman Gray's made of. And not only that, just the fans in the area. Every once in a while you'll see a driver that they hate, and there goes the Middleburgs everywhere on the grandstand, dude. But seriously, it is a track like no other. It's probably the best weekly racing racetrack in the world, and it's here in North Carolina. And it's just the fans, man, and the drivers and the tempers, and it's like a hockey game where they fight. Dude,
Hmm.
if you get a chance, I believe it'll all be worth it. Because, dude, there were people out of this country that came to watch NASCAR on that quarter-mile track.
So have you ever heard of Eldora Motor Speedway?
Oh yeah, Tony
So
Stewart,
that's
my guy, owns that track.
yeah, so that's right by me.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So a lot of people go to Eldora near me and stuff like that, flat track racing like that. Well, it's dirt track racing. Excuse me. I was thinking about the motocross side of it. Flat track.
Yeah, I've that's my next goal too. I've never been to a dirt race. As big as I am into racing, I've never been to a dirt race. That's something I'll have to do. But dude, you have brought us some incredible stories and something I've never learned. I never knew too about like the how to do the turtles and stuff like that. And then a lot of cool stuff. But and also, you know, T-Bone had told me that you used to work for was it criminal justice, right?
Yeah, yeah. I got my criminal justice degree from a community college here in Ohio, Northwest State. I I did an internship for 911 dispatching, but I also did some ride-alongs with that. I was able to get right into Putnam County Sheriff's Office in Ottawa, Ohio, and I had some pretty cool experiences, but I definitely like working at a bow shop a whole lot more. Um,
There you go.
it may not pay as well as dispatching, but let me tell you, I don't get calls at my work about people throwing people down the stairs because one person used too much cocaine and they got
Mm,
mad. So you pick your battles. But no, I really love the criminal justice like the system learning, and I still geek out about that. I watch Dateline all the time. And you're from North Carolina. Was the Murdaugh murder pretty close to where you were at? Like
trying to think.
he it was big news. Like he was a lawyer and then he killed his wife and son. And like me and my mom and Travis were talking about it. It happened a year ago, and it's pretty interesting. Like he was a lawyer, and it
I
was
don't.
pretty crazy
Yeah, I
case.
don't think I've. I don't think I told the Lord. No, I don't think I. I don't think I've heard about that. Now, like all the time, I hear about. I mean, very sad stuff. Like I don't know if you. It's probably the same in Ohio, but you hear school shootings all the time and all that
Um,
stuff. And yeah, I'll have to look that up. And you said it happened here.
I'm pretty sure it was North or South Carolina, but
Okay.
um, pretty much it's a train wreck watching it. Just watching any kind of they have documentaries all over Netflix, Hulu, 2020's covered it. I think like Dateline. It's an insane case, and it was kind of funny because when we were down at Travis's, one of the weapons he used. My mom doesn't know a lot about guns, but one of the weapons he used to murder people was a 300 blackout.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
and my mom saw one of the rifles in there. My mom nudged me. She goes, "Is that a 300 blackout?" And I said, "No." And and Travis, without a beat, goes, "You talking about the Murdaugh case?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
He's gonna
And
love watching this podcast. I'm just gonna tell you.
it, it was pretty funny. Oh man, they got me good when I was with this deer, taking pictures and filming the last little bit. Like I'm Chris Almabunker. Like they got wind that I don't like snakes. I do
Oh
not like
no.
snakes. I don't like them. And that I had texted them. I'm like, are the snakes out right now this time of year? Because I don't care if it's a gardener snake or a rattlesnake. I'm running, and it'd be pretty. It's pretty sad because I can't run very well because of my condition.
Mm.
But that's the only time I'll run is if there's snakes and bears or something. And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my deer and I was like, I think it was Anthony. He goes, "Chris, look out, a snake." I jump up and turn around and I just hear them all laughing. I'm like, oh Lord.
Bone.
Yeah. And another funny thing was Brian Schmeck. You know Brian?
Yeah.
So I don't know if he was recording or not. He was just like looking through the camera at my deer, and I'm looking at it, and I was like, think this will get Hannah Barron's attention? And he about dropped the camera laughing because I'm like, like that. And he's like, we're going to cut that part out. We're going to cut that part.
Wait, hold on. So you say that to him, right?
Yeah, I didn't know he was filming. I was just like joking, like, hey,
About the bear, right?
about the deer. Yeah. Like I was holding the deer up and I looked at Brian. I was like, hey, Brian, this big buck, like, you think it'll get Hannah Barron's attention? Like, hey. And he looked at, he about fell over laughing. He's
That's
like,
funny.
they're like, she's so nice. I'm like, I can imagine that she's a really nice person. They just seem that genuine.
Oh man, those are funny times. I was like, how dare T-Bone try to scare you with a snake?
Oh, I wouldn't put it. I love T-Bone to death, but he would. I guarantee he put a snake in my truck just to see my reaction or something like that, because that's the kind of guy he is.
That's exactly right. Yeah, Mr. Prankster. Yeah. Oh, dude, those are so funny. But yeah, tell us how you liking your new job at the archery shop?
Man, I love it. We have National Archery in the Schools program, NASP.
Uh-huh.
So how the store started was they needed a place to shoot for these
Yeah.
kids. So it's a in-school archery program that they use compound bows, but they're using them not in the way of like a release and sights. It's all three fingers under release at 10 to 15 meters. So every Monday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Thursday, we have about 100 little kids from fourth grade to seniors that come in. And part of my job is like I used to fletch arrows a lot, just because we do custom Genesis. Genesis is the company that's made by Matthews that is NASP approved. So Easton makes the arrows for that. And so I fletched those arrows, and just being in the archery and getting to work within archery and firearms itself is so cool because like you get to learn stuff before it comes out, get to see some stuff. We are a Matthews, PSE, and Bear distributor on the archery side.
There you go.
So and we also sometimes get in some used bows to that, but getting to be around the outdoor kind of world every day is it's nothing like it's not a stress situation. Nobody's gonna call, like I said earlier, it's not like my other job where it's life and death. It's just like the worst that can happen is somebody forgot to put the mods back into a Matthews lift and they drew back and it got stuck. And yeah, that happened to my boss. He forgot to put the mods back in and he looked like he was holding the ticking time bomb. So I had to help him put it back in the bow press. And, but yeah, getting to be around not only kids, but just like-minded individuals all the time that come into work, especially a lot of older folks. They don't hunt anymore, but they got a lot of really cool stories and they probably could out hunt you any day. So
Oh yeah.
get to hear their stories or just kind of getting to see kids start to get into the outdoors is pretty awesome too.
That's awesome, man. Dude, we've had a great conversation. It's good to get to know you, and like I said, because this is the first time we really, like I said, publicly, but like almost in person, talk to each other. And
Mhm.
because T-Bone, recommended you to talk to me, and dude, I can just tell you, it has been a pleasure to get to talk to you,
You
um,
too.
and I pray we have many more conversations down the road about hunting and life general. And um, I'll have to send you I'll actually when we get done with this, I'll have to tell you a video I'll be posting here shortly that I'll tell you about. But is there anything else you want to add to the conversation before we close out this episode? Anything like that?
No, other than if y'all all Southern guys want to come up and do some walleye fishing sometime, let me know. We'll get it. We'll get going, get a charter or something.
There you go, mate. Yeah, I'll have to think about that for sure. Absolutely. Well, Chris, thank you, buddy. You're a trooper, and
Oh
uh,
no.
and we you know, I know we all have our struggles and stuff, and but the good Lord's right by our side, and he'll never leave us nor forsake us.
Yeah.
So, but I thank God that you're staying strong and keep enjoying the outdoors. Hey, that's all we gotta do, man. So,
Yeah. You too. I hope you have a great turkey season. I hope that big Tom struts right out in front of you.
oh, I appreciate it, buddy. Same to you, man. But guys, that is Chris Hall. I appreciate you guys watching this episode. There'll be many more to come. Lord willing, more special guests for the podcast. And other than that, y'all hang tight. We'll have some more videos. We appreciate y'all watching, and y'all have a great day.